Is it before 12 or after 12 right now?
Before.
All right. I can stick with good morning. Good morning, guys. Thank you all for your patience. We just finished up in court on this matter. Thank you for being with us. I'm here today to announce a series of convictions via guilty plea that will make multiple states and multiple cities safer than they were before. The convictions today here in New Orleans and the convictions in Ascension Parish are significant steps towards finding and seeking justice in crimes that have deeply impacted our community as well as multiple jurisdictions in other states. Former FBI Special Agent David Harris, who once held a position of almost ultimate trust and authority, was first indicted here in New Orleans in November of 2021. This morning, that defendant pled guilty to attempted third-degree rape for crimes committed here in New Orleans. This was a multi-jurisdictional effort with Ascension Parish District Attorney Ricky Babin. I'm thankful for DA Babin's collaboration. My friend and colleague from Ascension Parish, Layla Braswell, who cut her teeth over here many years ago as a young DA. I'm thankful for her friendship, and I'm thankful for her efforts here today and in Ascension Parish and moving forward throughout other parishes. Layla has been the connective tissue to all these cases. She oversaw the guilty pleas of Harris in Ascension Parish and has maintained close communication and collaboration with the two lawmen that are responsible for bringing him to justice. Those lawmen and Layla deserve the gratitude of the state and this region for masterful investigative work and prosecutorial work. Louisiana State Police Detective Jay Donaldson led the state investigation and was absolutely instrumental in connecting the key evidence pieces that linked Harris's crimes through 3 separate Louisiana parishes. His tireless work, along with that of federal agent Marco Rodriguez from the Office of the Inspector General's office, tied cases involving Harris in the state of Louisiana, in the state of Texas, and in the state of Florida. This is exceptional work. You don't see this happening very often. Multiple states, multiple parishes, different DAs working together just to get a job done. Harris's actions, as we dug deeper into the case, are disturbing on the face of the indictments, but as we dug deeper, they were even more deeply troubling. When you look at the ages of his victims and survivors, what happened today is just one chapter in a much larger story of predatory behavior. Harris abused his position of trust and authority to victimize others across multiple cities and multiple states, using his position of power to dominate and really get away with this for far too long. In addition to the adult victim in this case, Harris abused at least 3 other child victims in Louisiana, Texas, and Florida. His patterns of abuse is extensive, and as the investigators uncovered, there are even more disturbing layers to his actions that will unfold as these cases continue to unfold. This work that we do is filled with a whole lot of bad. We see murders, beatings, rape, destruction. We see the worst that mankind can do. So I say it again, this work deals with all of the bad of the community. But there's a lot of good done in the process of handling these terrible situations. It might be the first person who arrives on the scene. Sometimes that's NOPD, sometimes it's a Good Samaritan. It might be the person who gets on the scene to render aid, maybe save a life, or maybe just disrupt a crime. It might be that doctor or nurse that helps start to patch someone up It might be that good Samaritan that gets you to that nurse or gets you to that doctor. It might be the judge that makes sure you get a very quick trial date. It might just be the prosecutors that make sure that the person is held accountable. There are a lot of good acts, exceptionally good work that came out of the work in this particular case. People fighting to hold the bad guys accountable and working together. There are some things that have happened here, partnerships and collaborations that you don't see every day. DAs in different parishes working together to hold the bad guys accountable. ADA Braswell, DA Babin, Federal Agent Marco Rodriguez, guys, state police who have been partnering here with us, with Troop NOLA for most of this year. The city is starting to see the results of collaboration and of partnership. It makes a very big difference. The bad guys who want to wreak havoc, they're not paying attention to parish boundaries. They don't care who's elected. And it's important to us to work together to make sure they don't slip through the cracks. ADA Braswell, I can't thank you enough for what you and DA Babin helped to make happen here. And to these agents that are behind me and behind you, these are cutting-edge partnerships that have never been forged before here in Orleans Parish. This defendant is facing multiple charges in multiple cities in various states because we were all committed to working this case together the smart way, building the best cases we could in each jurisdiction. This wasn't black or white. This wasn't conservative versus liberals. This wasn't federal versus state. This was everybody just doing the right thing for the people of this state, the people of this parish, and the people of Florida and Texas. So I want to recognize the exemplary detective work that brought this predator to justice, and their expert and detailed investigation made it possible to catch this perpetrator. This predator was hiding in one of our most trusted institutions in this country, and they have made sure that we could hold him accountable before he could traumatize any more women or any more children in any other state. I cannot overstate the importance of the work done by these investigators, and I can't overstate the importance of the work done by this veteran prosecutor on my right. It highlights the power of collaboration in catching the bad guys who might have otherwise evaded justice. So I want to give the floor to ADA Braswell, as she has been the coordinating force throughout this entire effort. I remember when I met her many years ago when she just started practicing in the same courtroom where we just took this plea. Layla, thank you for your work then, thank you for your work now, and thank you for the collaboration in this process. Layla?
Good morning. I do want to echo the statements of District Attorney Jason Williams. I appreciate him putting his trust in me and allowing me to represent the state of Louisiana, both in Ascension Parish as well as having me sworn in as a prosecutor here in Orleans so I could see this case through. This was truly a concerted effort by all the jurisdictions. We continue to work with East Baton Rouge Parish as well as working with the counties in Texas and Florida to make sure that Mr. Harris will be held accountable for all of his actions throughout the United States. We had someone who the public should have been able to trust, a West Point graduate and a member of the FBI, who betrayed the trust of not only these victims, but the community as a whole. And we together with OIG, with state police, with Texas Rangers, and all the district attorney's office have now brought justice to not only the state of Louisiana, but hopefully we'll see this through to Florida and Texas. Thank you.
Thank you, Layla. Unfortunately, these cases are not uncommon, but when you find someone with a security clearance that this man had, when you find someone with the credentials that this man had, it really sort of changes the game in terms of what he could have gotten away with without the efforts of the team that you see before me and a number of other people that were involved in this investigation. The Harris case reminds us that no one is above the law, especially those in positions of trust and authority. He abused that power and he abused that authority to prey on women and children, and he will not be able to do that anymore. I want to take this moment to recognize the incredible bravery of the survivors and victims in these cases, particularly the young folks who were victimized by this man. The survivor who came forward here in Orleans Parish, I can't thank you enough. The courage of the Orleans Parish survivor has made this possible to stop this predator from continuing his systematic abuse. We are committed to supporting victims every single step of the way and to ensuring that justice is served, not just for them, but for all those people who might have been a victim, but just couldn't come forward because they could not stomach saying out loud what was done to them. I want to reiterate the need for a systemic refocus on how we all respond to sexual violence. Our current response is simply not enough. The level of non-reporting of sexual assault cases is abysmally low throughout this country because of how we respond to it. We need to take these cases more seriously, and that starts with us ensuring that all actors within the criminal justice system treat these crimes with the gravity that they deserve, and being proactive and aggressive with sex crimes is essential whether these crimes occurred days ago or years ago, because the trauma caused by these types of crimes grow exponentially over time. And so behind me, you see the crime lab right now that does not have DNA testing equipment. You're going to hear me talking in the days to come before the city council about making sure that this crime lab can do what the state police's crime lab does. Because right now it's working overtime for parishes throughout the state, and they simply cannot do it all. We've got to step up, because then we can not only hold sexual assault predators accountable sooner, but we can connect them to cases where we might not have a victim or a survivor who's ready to come forward. But we can also use them in some of the more simpler cases, like the car burglary and the car break-in, where someone may not have time to make it to court, but we find that DNA on the broken glass of a window, and we connect those sprees together. So everything sort of builds on everything else, but today is a moment to recognize and support survivors of sexual violence. A vicious predator was taken off the street today in multiple states. You don't see this every day. It could not have happened without you. I appreciate your help. Couldn't have happened without our federal partners. Marco, thank you. And Layla, my friend and colleague, thank you, and Ricky, for what you've done here. And this man will be moving on to East Baton Rouge Parish, where I know Hillel Moore has plans for him there. And with that, we'll take any on-topic questions.
Open for on-topic questions. I'm going to start from my left. Start with Ariel, WDSU.
Question for you. We talked about sexual assault crimes all in the time manner. We know that backlog here in the experience. This time last year, there were over about 600 cases that we were behind this process. Talk to me about the importance of just making sure that we do get the equipment for these buildings across the street so that these cases are solved, especially when it involves child victims.
You know, I was working personally with sexual assault of a child case over at Tulane and Broad not long ago. And this young victim was a child when it occurred, but she was an adult with her own children by the time it was brought to justice, because we've been waiting on these results. So when you start talking about a survivor not being able to close the door within and I'm not talking about months, but at least within a year or 2 years of when that assault happens, it is deeply traumatizing to these survivors. And oftentimes it can be the difference between a person going to jail and staying in jail. So having that DNA available not overburdening our state partners who have been great in trying to test all the stuff we've been sending up. We've got to get that slab open. I'm spending a lot of time with our director, and she is working really hard to get all of the best equipment ordered so that we can test all of the submissions made by the NOPD just across the way in short order. I can't say enough how without it happening, to answer your question sort of succinctly, justice for survivors is at a screeching halt. It is vitally important that we get this lab up and running. And here's the other part. We get our lab up and running, it means the state police can turn and start testing the kits that are backlogged from other parishes. I mean, this is not just about what's right and what's good for Orleans Parish. This is about us rowing the same direction at the same cadence so that we can uplift the entire state as it relates to public safety. Thank you for that very important question.
Chris, timeline-wise, Troy Carter and the mayor announced a significant amount of money for the lab. Do you have any update as to what exactly that lab will be on that?
I know that the director is holding fast to a 2025 date as a benchmark to moving forward. She is working as swiftly as she can. There's a process that she has to go through in terms of procurement. I'm going to probably spend a lot of my conversation at the budget hearings at City Council, making sure that everyone realizes that we can't miss any of those deadlines in ordering that equipment or hiring staff over there, and making sure that we're paying that crime lab what they can make in the private sector, because if you got to retrain people because they're leaving every 30 days, that's another setback that you see happening. So I can tell you that this director is holding fast to meeting that benchmark, but she needs the help. She needs the help of the City Council and every department that has any part in procurement at City Hall. And I really think it's important that all of her law enforcement partners yell as loudly as we can, because we are depending upon those results. If there's a case that we go to trial on or go to a hearing on, and there's been a testing that was requested by the NOPD or by the state or by anyone, and it's not been done, it's not been completed, they're going to say to the jury, what about this? What if this tells us someone else did it, right? And that is going to be reasonable doubt. So we are the end user of their work product. So her deadline is my deadline. Her deadline is Chief Kirkpatrick's deadline. So we want to make sure she can make it.
So, Mr. Williams, I wanted to shift the topic to the most recent juvenile escape on Monday.
Anything on topic? Okay,
Okay,
let me check in with you after the press conference. Okay. Anything else for the DA or any of our other law enforcement partners?
Yep.
Real quick, can you explain the plea agreement you all made with Harris here and Ascension? And then I know some of these charges against him or allegations stem from more than 10 years ago. So if this woman reported attempted rape in New Orleans, it kind of sounds like she really was the catalyst to bring this home.
She was a catalyst, and we can't thank her enough for her efforts. Former FBI agent Harris pled guilty in Ascension. It was about roughly a week ago, and you just saw him plead guilty here. He agreed to a 10-year sentence here. Layla, you come on up. I'll let you.
So as to the plea agreements, Mr. Harris has one count of indecent behavior with a juvenile from Ascension Parish that he entered a plea into last week. That was for an agreed upon 7-year sentence, which is the maximum penalty under Louisiana law. Here today, he pled guilty to the charge of attempted third-degree rape of our victim for a 10-year sentence. The maximum penalty was 12 and a half. And then he will be entering a plea within the next few weeks in East Baton Rouge Parish for indecent behavior with a juvenile there as well for a 7-year sentence. He is now a lifetime registered sex offender who will have to update his registration. Once he is completed with all of the jurisdictions here in Louisiana, he will be then transported to Texas to answer to the charges that he has there as well.
It's going to be a long road for Mr. Harris, as it should be. I think it's also important to say that the FBI cooperated in every way and did everything that they should and needed to do to deal with one of their own who went rogue. Okay? All right. Thanks, everybody.